Hi everyone, if I haven't met you already, I think I've met almost everyone. I'm Kathryn, so I have digital here at LBC, and we started doing these brand master classes. I don't know if you've seen them. We've started doing 1 or 2 every store to talk about everything having to do with running your own business, specifically in the product category, so clothing, accessories, beauty, whatever it may be, but how to market it, how to sell wholesale, how to source your brand digitally, branding, everything. This one is focused on the digital side, specifically all you need for SEO. I wasn't quite sure of the levels of knowledge on SEO today, so I kept finding myself going down the rabbit hole and was like, no, too much. So I tried to keep it fairly basic and fairly streamlined in terms of exactly things that you guys can take away and action, hopefully, in the next weeks, months to come. But if at any point I say anything, I am fine with this being, we'll do a Q&A session at the end, but I'm fine with this being interactive, so if at any point I say something that you don't understand, feel free to raise your hand and ask me to clarify or explain. Happy to do so. So, first of all, hopefully everyone knows SEO stands for search engine optimization. We'll start there. And it's one of the areas of marketing that is often overlooked because it really is a long-term thing. It's an investment for your future. It's not like Instagram. It's not like you can post something and you get a bunch of likes. It's not like an email where you can send it out and you see click rates and open rates. It's something that really will come with time. The more you invest in it, the more you'll get. So you just have to remember that also at the end of this when you take things away and action them yourselves. And it's also, I think, important, and reason why we focused on this as one of our first topics is because we are getting requests. But also because I think it's becoming more and more popular as the paid ad space gets really saturated. Social media channels get really saturated, so people are asking, what else can I do to bring up my game in terms of marketing and get my brand out there? Real quick, actually, I wanted to start out in terms of most web platforms that you guys are probably all using allow some really easy functionality built-in SEO tools. Raise your hands, is anyone on Shopify? Okay, so that's good. Squarespace? Okay, what else? What other platforms are you guys on? Wix? Okay. It's okay, if you don't know, that's fine.
I was using Shopify until really recently, and then it just changed, and to be honest with you, someone else is coming to start.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I just want to make sure I could kind of tell the conversation to what you guys are using, because Design Cloud functions on Shopify, some of the screenshots you'll see are taken from Shopify's backend. But if you don't use Shopify, that's absolutely fine. Pretty much every web platform I've worked with has very similar tools in which you can easily enter things to adjust your SEO. And I'll explain that as we go along. So first, I just thought I'd start with some fun stats, just so you guys can see also as I'm going along. So in terms of search engine rankings, 90% of search engine traffic comes through Google, and that's important to note because as we go along, the majority of suggestions and the majority of search engine things that you can implement will be important for every single search engine platform, Bing, Yahoo, MSN, AOL, all of the others. But there are a few little tweaks that I'm going to recommend at the end that are specific to Google, and that is because it just commandeers the space. It is numero uno. And they are acting as such as well and building out many tools to help you within that. And then another little quick thing, just in terms of, again, why are search engines important? Hopefully you guys are all here today because you realize how important it is. But just some numbers for you guys. So Google processes 40,000 search queries a second, which adds up to about 3.5 billion search queries going through Google worldwide a day. To counteract that, there's 1 billion users on Instagram. So if you just kind of see the statistics, a billion people may be on Instagram, and everyone's like, oh, everyone's on Instagram. Almost quadruple, if not tenfold, of the people who are on Instagram are using Google, which makes sense because we all use it in our everyday lives. And oftentimes when we want to like have a reference point for something, one of the first points to do if you don't go on social and look it up, most people will go on Google and type in a brand name to see what pops up and learn a little bit more about them before making a purchase. So that's a little reasonably important. And then also, statistic is about your rankings in terms of showing up in search. So when you search something in Google and things pop up, the number one result receives 18.2% all click-through traffic, second is 10%, third 7%, fourth almost 5%, and then everything else in the 2%. So that's the reason why it's important to work on your SEO to get maybe at the top of your search rankings. I mean, particularly for your brand name, you should always be ranking at the top, but for other key terms in whatever sector you're in or industry you're dealing in, because it really can lead to amazing traffic. You know, like for example, let's say even only a minimum of 1,000 people are searching a term a day. If you're in that number one spot, that's 180 new people that are led to your site. So this is a little bit basic in terms of how do search engines work. So there's two major functionalities. So the first would be crawling and building an index, and the second is providing search users with a ranked list of websites they've determined are the most relevant. So the first is kind of the unknown, crawling and building an index. And this is a diagram I put in that kind of explains it, where you can kind of think about it as like the tube, where there's all these different lines and they make different stops. And that's exactly what Google does, is it goes through the internet and how it gets from stop, each of the stops is a web page, and how it gets from stop to stop is a link. You know, so for example, like you go and you search something and, or not even that, let's say you go on your web page and on your web page you link to your rings collection. That's a different web page, and then Google will go along that link and go along the subway line. And then from there, whatever next they click, it goes from there. And Google does this, you know, it can crawl millions of web pages in like a nanosecond. And then it stores all this data in terms of the routes that you can take through the internet in large databases. And they have millions of these all over the world, where it's literally just data of the links in the interweb and in the internet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that is why, like, we'll go on this later, but like links are so important because really it's what binds the web together. And this is just an example of how they do that. So when crawling the web and going from page to page, what they do is they go to that page, and this is what Google sees. So although like all of our websites, they're all pretty, and that's really important for the user perspective, from a customer perspective, and for your branding, SEO is important because this is what it will work to display on the back end, and this is what Google sees and reads when deciding whether your website is important or not. And I'll later go on to tell you how to put all the important information in that, but I think it's just important to read like how simplified our website gets in terms of what impacts our search rankings. It's none of the imagery, it's just the bare cold copy, URL, and page title. And then, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. And then in terms of number 2 is providing answers to user queries, most frequently through lists of relevant pages that they retrieve and rank for relevancy. Like I said, here is number 2. So that is what we all know. We all go into Google, we type in something, a list of searches comes up, and that's based on ranking factors, which I'll explain next, which Google has outlined. And that's basically, once they've done the crawling and the indexing, they've crawled through all your web pages, they've read everything that's out there, they've had a database of the whole web, then what they do is they display the search rankings based on certain ranking factors that they're able to, you know, store in their database. And that's based on these, which are link features, keywords and content, engagement and traffic. So that's how they rank your web page. So they now know everything about you. They have a database of everything on the web. And then when someone searches something, so let's just say someone searches gold jewelry. They'll go through and look at all of the data they have about what's out there on the whole entire web and say, okay, who do we think is most important based on matching these keywords and the content they have on their site? Link features, so who seems to have a really easy to navigate website? I think customers would really like, and literally Google things, what would customer like? So, and they have all of our browsing data. So there's like, okay, based on who has searched gold jewelry in the past, what have they clicked on? What have they liked? What have they not liked? Then what should I return? Because then, okay, if that person liked that, then this person probably will, based on your location, your past search history, all of that. And then engagement and traffic, that plays into it as well. So it's based on how many people have gone to this website, how many people go to your website a day, how many people a month, are they purchasing, are they finding what listings they like? All of that data goes into the search rankings and deciding who ranks first. So within these ranking factors, these are important, but next what I'm going to do is kind of break it down into two categories because for number one, indexing and crawling, there's some basic things you need to do on your website in order to even allow Google to crawl your website and find the information it needs. So that's what we'll walk through first. And then second, we'll go through some factors that will help these ranking factors and allow you to boost up in the rankings in terms of returning your website for relevant searches. All with me so far? Okay. So these are the things that you can do on site. So the first one is navigation and links. So there's typically on any web page, especially I'm starting with just your home page. On the home page of your website, there's typically two navigation areas you have, and that is the header navigation, that's the top, and the footer navigation that will be at the bottom of your home page. It's important to, when you're creating both navigation areas, it's important to think about them because number one, it's going to be the first impression of where users should go. But for SEO, what's really important is that every page on your website should be a maximum of 3 clicks away from your home page. So you need to think about that strategically when you're creating collections and deciding what's going to be in the menu because anything that's more than 3 clicks away from your home page, any page or product on your website, Google's immediately going to be like, it's not important. If it's not close to the home page, it's not important. And that means, for example, so on our home page, this is like I screenshot this with LDC, for example. So you could click new in, that's 1 click. You're brought to a collection page with loads of merchandise. You click on a product, that's the 2nd click. And then let's say, and that's equally important, and then your 3rd click would maybe be add to cart, but there's nowhere, or it could be browse more about this designer and go to the designer's collection page. This is specifically for LDC, but I hope you're getting how it can be upload your own content as well. But essentially, anything beyond that is, Google's like, nah, no one cares. So really utilizing the header and footer nav is important from that perspective to make sure that ideally everything on your website, every product, every page is 3 clicks, ideally 2, but maximum 3 from your home page. And so
if I understand correctly, sub-links are not a good idea. So for example, if you have like products and then you have, I'm sorry, I'm just using jewelry as an example, so we're doing that. Say like, if I start having like bracelets and necklaces in a sub-menu like gold, silver, whatever, that's not good.
It's fine if they're filtering.
Yes.
So if it's a filtering mechanism, that's fine. So for example, like if you go on a collection page and you say filter by gold, but technically the important thing to look at is the URL. So if you filter by something, that doesn't actually really change the URL. It adds a filter, but it doesn't change, and that's really based on the customer level. What you wouldn't want to do so that in your nav, and what I showed a screenshot there is that, so what we have is shop, it pops up and it says like clothing accessories, and it's not actually a click, it just hovers over, and that's a good tool to use as well, as if it's just a hover over on the page, because Google will read that as one full nav or menu. What you wouldn't want to do is like have someone click, and I think it'd be okay if they clicked like bracelets and they clicked gold, because that's 2 clicks. What you wouldn't have them do is go further than that and have to be like, go deeper. Because basically, essentially, the deeper a web page in your site, the less important Google sees it is. Essentially. So it's just something to think about. The second key factor is keywords. Keywords, and I'm going to give you some tools after this to work on your keywords, but just to start the basic. Keywords are really important in terms of you want to make your pages primarily for users and not for search engines. So keywords are something that we always hear, keywords. And where to start is typically, do your own brainstorm. So where you want to start with keywords is, first of all, do your own brainstorm. And that in terms of not just entails sitting down and being like, right, what is my business? What are terms? What am I thinking about? What do I do? Who are my customers? What could they possibly be looking for? What kind of products do I offer? What are variants of that product? And so for Long Design Club, like you sit down and do this, and you're, thinking of all users, it's not going to go up in search rankings. If someone did search your username, it would be like, why am I even using this? So maybe go, Long Design Club, lookbook, spring 2019, fairy dress, or whatever. Try and be a little more specific. Again, keeping it under, let's say, max 100 characters, lower if possible. Under 70 would be great. So still, for alt text. So this is, sorry, I'll start with the basics with alt text. I'll rewind a little bit. I got ahead of myself. So alt text is just like I showed you, every page, how Google reads it is the title, the meta description, and the URL. How Google reads pictures is not a human, does not have eyes, can't see it, is the alt text. So alt text is the copy, the verbal description of that image. And that's how, when Google or any search engine is crawling a site, just like I showed you that really simplified, they don't see the images, they just see text. So the alt text is then what Google would read instead of the image. So Google would see the image just as words, essentially, and that's how they decide where to display it in search rankings, is based on those words. So that's another way, and this is relevant specifically for, when someone searches, let's say, I'll go back to when I used earlier, ethically made blue dress, a lot of people will just scroll through the first search page that we get, which just has all the links, but some people may say, hey, let's go with images. They click on, search Google by images, and how Google knows what to show is based on alt text. So they'll say, oh, well, they describe their image as this, so it's relevant. Make sense? Yeah. So that's why alt text is important.
About this alt text. So, for example, this web page, you have trousers and detailed trousers. Is it okay to repeat the brand name, for example, LDC trousers, LDC detail of the trousers?
Yes, I would just change them. Yeah, as long as they have some variation. Yeah, so if you have like LDC trousers in every single one, that's fine. But I would do LDC, like you're saying,
side view or whatever.
Exactly, detailed
Front
shot.
view,
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Some kind of variation so that they don't see it as like an exact duplicate. And also, like the more accurate a description your alt text is, the better. So it should accurately describe what the image is. Slight side note, but still relevant because also alt text is now for anyone with a disability who, let's say they have a visual or a hearing disability. Alt text is what they will get read to instead of seeing the image. So if they're browsing on the website, you will read to them your alt text. Obviously, like a more side point for SEO, but something interesting as well. So that's alt text. Another point on images that plays into this and why alt text is important is, so I just put this, it's a random, I found it on via Google search, image, but if there's any images that you've edited in Photoshop, InDesign, anywhere that have text in the image, Google will not read that text. So let's say on your home page you have, and for some things like logos, it's fine. You assign alt text to your logo, and you can't help that. But that's why, when possible, it's important to have live text on your site. So I know sorry, I'm using Shopify because we're on again, but same with other web platforms.
What is live text?
So live text is when it's coded in instead of graphically put on an image. So let's say on your homepage you want to do a slideshow. You can either go into Photoshop and put all of your text in Photoshop so it's actually part of the JPEG, it's part of the graphic, in which case people will not be able to read that text and they'll just see it as an image. Or a lot of web platforms have the functionality to overlay text on an image, in which case the live coded text is in the code of your website, display this text over this image, in which case Google is then able to read it because it's in the code.
Okay, so say if you had a sale on and you did a Photoshop image of your campaign, your sale, and on, and then you put it live. Are you saying then you should write over that text?
No, I'm not saying do both.
What's overlay?
Overlay is when, so for example, it's when I can just upload the raw image with no text on it, nothing on it, just a pretty picture of your home address up to your website. And then a lot of web platforms will have this functionality where you can say, it's not on the product pages, but on a lot of the collection pages, or just the raw your home page or other pages, you can say, basically put text over to display text on an image.
Wait, so you're literally looking at it like that image there.
Yeah, so you're looking at it just like that,
Okay, so
but you didn't put the copy on the image in Photoshop. The code is doing it for you through the platform. And I'm not saying this is always possible. Sometimes if you have a specific font you use that maybe isn't applicable with your platform or other things, you won't, or the functionality is weird on a certain page, it won't always be possible, but it's something to keep in mind. Specifically for a home page, about us page, other key pages on your website that display the integral content for your brand. Just keep in mind that Google will be able to crawl that, and so they won't, let's say the graphic on your home, about us page says it's in the graphic that says your bio, and it's not live text. Google won't read that. Makes sense. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's another reason why alt text is important, because even if you do look at the sale image, and you don't have your font or it's not laying out in the right way you want, that's fine, but it's just then knowing it's key to make that image have alt text that accurately describes the copy in the image. Make sense? So that wraps up the key factors of what you can do on your site, and these are the key things that you have to do in order to even allow your site to show up in search rankings. So these are things that will allow, step number one, Google to index and crawl your site. Without these, they won't be able to even, if you don't have alt text, if you don't have meta descriptions, they're going to be stumped when they get to your pages and not know, oh, it's just a blank and, there's nothing here. Well, there was an image, but they can't read that image, but there's no alt text, I can't read it. Or there's no meta description, or it doesn't accurately reflect this page and it's a bit confusing, or it's too long. We don't know what to do with that, so we rank it lower. So these are the foundations really to even get you over your search rankings. Once you've done these, the next step is to focus on what in SEO terms is called rich snippets. And that's simply a term that refers to the things you can do to up yourself in the search rankings. So you've done all this, you've done the groundwork of getting your site readable. These are things that you can do to take you from number 10 to number 2, number 20 to number 1, etc. And really the goal would always appear on this first page for a search query, because it goes about like 50% is really on the first page, and from there it just goes down significantly. So that should always be the goal. So the first thing you can do is reviews. This isn't applicable to every business, but if you can make it, specifically for small businesses, it can be really helpful. And this is just an example I took from Google, from my local coffee shop. And it's because, so search engines love reviews because they're just such an easy way for them to categorize and rank things. Very easy, simple. 0 to 5 equals bad, 5 out of 5 equals good. If you get a bunch of 5 out of 5s, people are liking you, Google likes you. If you're getting 0 to 5, people don't like you, Google doesn't like you. So it's an important way for you to easily up your popularity within Google, and it applies to both reviews through Google, and also you'll see at the bottom, Google has implemented Facebook reviews as well that feed directly into its search platforms. And so we've started doing this, for example, through LBC, like after a store is over, emailing everyone who's made a purchase and simply thanking them for coming and asking them to leave a review on either Google or Facebook. You can do it you can add it to the end of your receipts is a great way. So add it at the end of your receipts, end of your shipping confirmations, just like you would have, typically have like your social links. Just anywhere you put your social links or like to follow us here, right below you can say, we'd love to it really helps us if you leave a review, here's a link to Google, here's a link to Facebook. And then we can build those up a little better. I skipped a page, sorry. So going back that, sorry, not to do this first. It's a review, and also Google My Business listing. So to even, so reviews, they will show up like I showed here on the right under your My Business listing, but just so you know too, they can also show up underneath your URL, actually in the search listing. Here, My Business listing. So My Business listing, it's really simple. It's free. It's just through Google. You can literally just Google Business listing, and it'll pop up. And basically, what it does is it empowers you because basically you're registering your website and your business, your location if you have one. Even if you don't, that's fine. But your social channels, all of your basic information in terms of like product categories, opening hours if you have them, contact info in terms of like, customer service phone number, customer email, all of that, you're giving to Google saying, hey, I want you, here's all my information, use it for customers, I'm openly telling you about me so that you can use this information. And Google likes that because they're like, okay, you registered, it just makes it so much easier for them to show up in search rankings for your business, or for relevant search queries. So this is I just did John was the first thing that came to mind. But it'll show you on the right in terms of this is all, once you create your Google My Business listing, it gives you a Google My Business page where you can input all that information, you can upload pictures. And if you upload pictures there, then those will be the first pictures that Google thinks of when anyone could show your business. and that will be what they display to the customer. So it just lets you control your customer perception, your user perception, and empowers Google to know more about you and puts you on their radar. Makes sense?
They also have Google Blogs. How does that work?
I'm not familiar with Google Blogs. It's slightly, I mean, I think that's more from an editorial standpoint.
When I registered, they asked me to do blogs too.
Oh, really?
And then they remind me, do a new blog, people are watching you.
Oh.
Maybe that's something new.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
I'm like, okay, I'll do a new one.
Yeah.
I mean, they even
I mean-
remind you, they're so good.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe it depends on how you register, or like
Huh.
what product category you're under. I'm not sure, because I haven't worked with that. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but it just shows like Google's coming out with all these little times, and you can use their services.
It's free.
It's free, and they'll like you, and that's again because they're the #1 search platform. You know, Google will like you. Next up, so after you have all your SEO set up, yep, so Google My Business Link reviews and then share your content. So this is the next thing you know is once you've got your website ready to go, you want to share your content as much as possible. Google rates, like, shows search rankings based on popularity and validity. And one of the major factors for popularity is this brand name and their URL being shared on other places on the internet besides just their site. So are other links to your site on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social channels, YouTube, on other blogger sites, on other of your comrade sites, on wholesale stocks websites, whatever it may be, it's really useful so that Google can see that other people are talking about you, you're relevant to other people, not just yourself. So anytime you can get, and this kind of twirls into like where the different parts of marketing combine, and even goes into PR, is if specifically if you ever get like a PR piece and you're mentioned on someone's web or someone's blog or even on an Instagram's account, if you can always make sure that when they mention you, they like hyperlink your site or link back to your site. That is so valuable, not just from a PR perspective, but also from an SEO perspective, because it shows not only will it bring users to your site, but it shows Google and other search engines how like powerful you are and that other people want to recommend you as well, which then ups your popularity. Yes.
Is the effect mutual when we backing someone else?
Yeah. Yeah. So it wants to it does go both ways. Basically, Google wants to see you're being talked about, and same then like your relationships. So not only does it want to see who you're talking about, but like let's say when you backlink, let's say you backlink, and not just again these are all things. Don't just do willy-nilly. Like don't do if they actually don't make sense. They need to make sense and be valid. But in that case, like let's say you link to another website, and especially let's say it was a website that had great social following or has a great number of users and links to a lot of other things. It then boosts your rankings because you're associated with that website. So, let's say, I'm just going to say John Lewis is a great thing. So anything that's named John Lewis, like obviously John Lewis has great search. I'm not saying all of them are John Lewis. But like if you then were linked to their website and they backlink to you, then like, oh, they have a relationship. This is good. This is good.
But the problem is that they only backlink to you because they want John Lewis to buy on their
Yeah,
site.
so
They don't want them to go on your own website.
So let's say,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and so not a wholesale stuff, but let's say it's with a blog.
Yeah,
Either
blog is different.
a blogger or news publications or anyone else out there.
Yeah.
It pertains to all websites.
This is only on
website, we're not talking about social media, right?
Talking about specifically your website and search engines haven't gotten as smart with social yet. They're good with Facebook. They'll read Facebook really well. They'll read Twitter pretty well. They don't read Instagram very well. Search engines haven't figured out quite how to rank Instagram. So Instagram will, your brand Instagram could show up and should show up in search rankings for your brand, but an individual post, they don't know how to read that or
So, for example, I remember when I was like looking for things, it was like if you have a piece of writing about you, or if you're like, if somebody's writing something about you, and you want to know a little bit about that, for a brand, whatever, you write it in an email, it's like that's when you add the hyperlink there, or like send them something.
I would ask them, like, you can hyperlink the text, but it won't necessarily get copied over. I think the best way to do
To
it
actually ask
is just to ask them. Yeah. And especially if it's like a mutual partnership. I mean,
Yeah.
with some of the bigger publications, sometimes it's more difficult. It's always important to ask, not always guaranteed, but especially with like, micro-influencers, whatever you would call them. Yeah, it's always important to ask, hey, can you please, and link to, and be intentional in terms of like, what the article is about. Do you want them to link to your homepage? Do you want them to link to, are they specifically talking about dresses and you want, or your new spring collection, you want them to link to your spring collection page? Be intentional in what you want them to link to and ask it outright, because odds are, if they're writing about you, we'll put a hyperlink anyway, you might as well have some say in what they link to and make sure it gets accomplished. And that's it. So just to wrap up, I hope that you do a good overview. I tried to go into detail where I could and keep it as basic as possible overall. But that's pretty much where search engines is today, and those are some immediate actionable items that you can do both for your site and then also once you have that set up to help your rankings. But SEO is something that also, like I said when I was just talking about social, it's constantly evolving. 5 years ago they couldn't read Facebook, now they can. Now they're dabbling with putting Twitter into search rankings, so they're like, should we show tweets in search rankings if they're applicable? They're experimenting with it. It's fine right now. They may not do it as, let's say Twitter becomes more relevant. They're working on Instagram. Years or not even months from now, maybe Instagram posts will start to post search rankings. So it's something that to stay on top of and see of new ways to implement it. These are the foundations that will always be relevant and are important, like I said, to start now because it will serve you in the long term. And the sooner you start, the sooner you'll start seeing results. But do keep your eyes on your curve, and I'll keep everyone during this forum too of new developments that they can have. So that's all I had planned. And open to any questions now if you have them, or talk to me personally if you have specific questions after. Any questions? Yeah.
So, kind of most ignorant person about SEO in the room. Now I've definitely learned what to do, but just like everybody else in the room, like I get spammed a lot with these like dodgy companies offering, to boost SEO so that you can be like first in research in the search results and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean obviously I'm not going to go down that road, but especially hear what you kind of shared with us. But do they do that by using bots or something? Because they're not
Yeah, it's all like bots and it's things that, like I said, it's
robots.
It's a
Oh,
robot.
thank you.
Does Google know it's bots?
They won't right away. Eventually they'll catch on, and that's why I think with SEO it's important. But like I said, like I try to emphasize, it's like important to do it authentically.
Yeah.
Because it'll seem slow to start at first. It won't seem much, but then a couple months, 3 months, 6 months down the line, hopefully you'll start to see results. And if not, then you reevaluate and change as you go. It's when you use things like bots, then you'll see people like it. It's again that instant gratification we're all used to,
Yeah.
where they know how to get into that, then use the robot to boost you up right away. So you'll be at the number one stop for a couple weeks, but then people will catch you, and then it leads, and then you have to pay a lot more money to do it again. So it'll just be these random spikes, instead of like getting the foundation right, investing to go along, and seeing the big reward in the long term. So it's kind of one of things you get to be patient with, but yeah, I wouldn't do it like bad things. And then in terms of like agencies, like there are a lot of agencies that can be really great, but again, you just have to make sure, just check them out to make sure that they're going to do this eventually, and then get your vision, you get your brand. Because like, you know, with the keywords, like you have to understand your product offering, your brand, your core ethos, in order to do it right.
So SEO is something we can do ourselves. It's organic, and AdWords is something we pay for.
Yes.
And
So
AdWords can change, but SEO you say give it like a long time.
give it a long time. Yeah, I mean with AdWords, or you can boost your business. Like if you create a Google My Business listing, they'll say like promote your business on, especially if you have a physical location, they'll say like promote your business on Maps or promote it in their other apps, or in search, with Google Shopping, with all those things you can pay. You can always pay to show up on top, but it's just going to cost money, and competition is, you know, just getting greater and greater every day, and it's not necessarily going to replace SEO. You can pay to be on top, but at the same time, like, you're paying for that one page to be on top. What about all your other pages? Like with SEO, like with every page on your site, that's an opportunity to show up on the home page. Every single page is an opportunity. It's not just your home page, you know.
So after 6 months, say I'm assessing.
Yes.
What is my criteria? Do I look at which pages have been popping up most often? So that means that keyword, whatever. That link has worked, and then I work on it.
So what I usually use is a metric.
Or is it like my sales? How do you do it?
So there's a couple of things. You get to look at sales. Google Search Console, which what I mentioned, is something. So you want to do an initial assessment first. Google Search Console is usually what you want to do is, like I said, it's free, and it will just show you what your current top search queries are. So it'll say these are the top 20 search queries that right now will organically lead traffic to your site. So what I usually do is, like, at the beginning of the process, I'll look it up in Google Search Console, screenshot it, save it. Every month, just go back, look at it. Okay, are these changing to my keywords? Are these changing to like relevant search terms that I want people to be searching in order for my website to show up? Okay, let's say 6 months down the line, screenshot it, like every month, every couple months. You can even wait until that 6 months more, check it, look at your organic search terms. Okay, they haven't changed. Maybe I need to rework my keywords a little more. Maybe I could put them in a few more places on my site, or that's when you want to reevaluate. So Google Search Console is really